My name is Anna Swartz. I'm the Alumni Liaison and the Faculty Administrative Assistant at the School of Management. My co-host today is Elena Moore. She is a SHRM chapter president and a dual major in Human Resource Management and Marketing. We have four panelists here today. The first one is Za'Taia Shelby. She graduated from the University of Michigan-Flint in April of 2021 with her BBA in Accounting and Finance. She is now a forensic accountant at one of the Big Four accounting firms, Ernst & Young in Miami, Florida. In addition, she is currently pursuing the Certified Public Accounting exam to become a Certified Public Accountant. Her interests include gaining and improving skills associated with accounting, finance, leadership, business, and networking. Za'Taia's passions are being successful, traveling the world, and spending time with loved ones. The next is Sean Lemke, works for Ford Motor Company, helping stand up new service-based businesses. He now leads business operations for VIIZR, which was recently publicly announced. He joined Ford in 2018 as a member of the Ford Business Leadership Program, a rotational program designed to develop general management leadership talent. Sean holds an MBA from MIT Sloan School of Management after graduating in 2018. He graduated from UM-Flint in 2015 with a BBA in International Business. While completing his coursework, he studied abroad at Zagreb School of Economics and Management in Croatia. Before Ford and college altogether, Sean was an enlisted Marine and later an overseas civilian contractor. Cheyenne Nordberg graduated in April of 2020. She's majored in HR management and a minor in psychology. She has always been fascinated by people and why they make the choices that they do. While in college, she participated in SHRM and was also a member of a sorority on campus. She struggled finding an entry-level HR position after graduation, so she explored other options. Cheyanne decided to take a leasing consultant position for apartments and has been working on in this role for 1.5 years. And then lastly is Alexis Menard, received her BBA in Marketing and Organizational Behavior and HR Management with a minor in Communications. She graduated in April 2021 as the recipient of the Maize and Blue Distinguished Scholar Award and Outstanding Student Award for OBHRM. As a student, she was involved in the Hagerman Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation and was president of the Society for Human Resource Management, UM-Flint chapter. In 2021, SHRM won the Outstanding Student Organization at UM-Flint. Yay! Alexis joined the UM-Flint School of Management as a full-time staff in August 2021 as a marketing and communications coordinator. Within her role, she develops and implements marketing plans and advertising budgets, maintains SOM's presence on social media and university websites, writes for the School of Management blog, and organizes events to engage business students. Currently, she's enrolled at UM-Flint's MBA program, and she's the best coworker ever. Okay, so I ended with you, Alexis. I'm gonna ask you the first question, okay? Your mic's not on.
Yeah, I'm good.
Do you have any advice you would like to provide students as they approach graduation and prepare for future careers?
Yeah, so I think probably the biggest thing is to really, critique your resume, make sure that document's perfect because you're going to be sending that out to so many different employers. So, work with the school management career planning counselor or go see Antonio in his new office. So there's a lot of resources available, to perfect your document and making sure that that's going to be the best thing to highlight you when you apply for jobs.
Thanks. Za'Taia?
Yeah, I definitely agree with what Alexis said. I would definitely say too, just like take advantage of like any technology courses. That's just like the #1 plus, like going into like any field, I believe, like knowing any type of technology, it makes it so much easier to learn new technology. So that's like another essential skill. Like if you got extra credits you need to take, I would take like a 1 credit computer class, a 2 credit computer class and things like that, because you can learn so much little things that like add up in the end.
Thank you. Sean?
Hey, thanks for the question. So I would recommend reaching out to professionals that are in a particular line of work over LinkedIn. Even if you don't have, a connection to them already, just cold call, message them, express that, you're interested in a particular company or field, understand they may have some expertise, and ask them for the latest on the industry and any specific guidance that they would want to give. I think it helps show employers that you're interested and willing to go the extra mile, and is going to help you learn something about your industry and a target company ahead of any interview. So simple way to get some credibility with your interviewer.
Thank you. Cheyenne?
I definitely agree to utilize resources. I know that the School of Management is always doing different events to try to prepare students for life after college. And then when it comes to applying places, my advice would be to not limit yourself. Sky is the limit. The only way you'll really get accepted to a place is applying, and not getting accepted is going to happen places, and that's okay.
Thank you.
So I think I'm going to ask the next questions for all the panelists. Has technology changed your job? And I guess I know Za'Taia kind of talked about that a little bit, but what changes do you see in the future for your careers? And I guess I'll ask Alexis first.
Oh gosh. Okay. So I do marketing communications, and it's really interesting right now because Facebook announced like this metaverse, and we were already trending towards like more video content. Even Instagram announced that they're no longer a photo platform. They're trending more towards video. So I think, like videos, TikToks, that stuff, is going to be the new normal, and what every brand and company is going to have to, start doing to be competitive. So if you're going to be in marketing communications, that's going to be the new thing. Get comfortable with video, design, graphics, all of that, because it's not going away.
Thank you. Za'Taia?
So with technology in my field, I'm in accounting, just to say that again. So I would definitely say as a lot of everything I do, I'm using technology every day. Like my number one thing I use is Excel. So I would definitely say like you're really good in Excel. They will like anybody help you like where you're at. Like they're gonna show you exactly like what you need to do. But having that prior knowledge is definitely a plus. And then I would definitely say too, something I remember from U of M, like it's a lot of like hand problems, and like especially like with the tests and things like that. It's not like that at all in the real world. Everything is like automated. So I would definitely say like get more into like the technology behind it, get comfortable in Excel, because like I feel like any accounting career that you go into, Excel is definitely going to be like the number one source that you use.
Thank you. Sean?
You're welcome.
Agree that Excel continues to be an important foundational skill to have for just about any business-based job. I would add to that, first of all, yes, technology has radically changed the way that I work. I joined Ford pre-COVID, and so in the office every day, for a number of hours. Most meetings were in person. Very rarely did we even talk over a WebEx or a Zoom bridge. And so, yeah, the way that we interact and have replaced those in-person, just the nature of in-person interactions overall has changed so dramatically in the way that we work together. So any tool that is built to deliver collaborative work is probably going to become like a table stakes skill going forward. So SharePoint, Google Docs, but even getting into more, Valley-based tools like Notion or Slack are just so important to be able to hit the ground running in a new role right now. So I would really encourage familiarity with collaborative tools, especially those up and coming platforms that are coming out of the Valley.
Thank you. Cheyanne?
With my role as a leasing consultant for apartments, I've noticed pretty much everything becoming more technological, from signing leases, the application process, making payments. The only option for really all of those at this time is online. With the residents here, there is a variety of different age groups. So I really had to, work on trying to assist people of all different capabilities on those different technologies. I've also realized with our marketing, we've been tuning in more with our photos, videos, getting on social media. So that's increased as well. And I definitely see it continuing to increase.
Thank you. Cheyanne, I'll continue with you. Do you have any advice for people trying to use a business degree in a non-traditional way, or are there certain skills that you found universal?
I definitely would say a lot of the skills I learned from business are very universal. A big thing would be communication. I struggled with communication, verbal communication, technological communication, a lot of those things before college. And I'd say that's one of the things I learned throughout school that has made pretty much anything that I do after this easier. Being able to know how to utilize all those different forms of technology, all the different types of Microsoft Office is also incredible. I may not use all those every day, but having some experience going into it with some knowledge is making me a better asset than someone who doesn't have those expertise.
Thank you. Sean?
Anna, can you repeat the question for me? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I want to make sure.
Do you have any advice for people trying to use a business degree in a non-traditional way? Are there certain skills that you found universal?
Yeah, business school is a great way to develop skills that are for sure transferable across disciplines, right? Even something way outside of business. The distinction between business and other disciplines is becoming fuzzy at best, but I think even the value of having strong, a way to translate business to other disciplines is becoming an opportunity for a lot of people. So for instance, the overlap or connection points between business and design has gotten a lot of traction over the last, couple of decades, but it's really hitting its stride now. And corporations, beyond just academics, corporations are realizing the value in being able to do both, or at least carry yourself in a conversation involving both core disciplines, right? And so if you think about what you learn in a business school curriculum, yes, we learn a lot about hard quantitative skills in like a finance class, or communication skills, or software skills in a particular computer class, for instance. But some of the themes throughout all these courses can be applied to any situation, regardless of business focused work streams or not. So things like being able to analyze information, being able to investigate a question thoroughly, being able to communicate with others and meet them where they're at, right? Use their nomenclature. So this is like getting into marketing and sales a little bit, right? You can understand how business can translate to being an effective, contributor of value in a variety of situations. The one that comes most to mind, and maybe isn't as prevalent in other disciplines, is learning how to understand the network or the organization behind a set of activities. So if you can create like a mind map of who does what and why they do it and who they need to talk to and how information flows through a network or flows through a system, you can be really effective at identifying opportunities or opportunities or strengths, right? And so now we're getting into like a SWOT analysis, but the business background provides you with sort of those foundational skills that you can apply in different disciplines pretty effectively, right? So don't box yourself into thinking that like, I know marketing and I don't know anything but marketing, or I only know finance, and if it's not finance, it's not for me. Like, what you need to be good at in order to be good at marketing and finance are, you know, probably things that you need to be good at to do anything else effectively.
Great, thank you. Za'Taia?
Yeah, I definitely agree with what Sean was saying there. A lot of things are transferable, especially like the skills that you learn and different things like you learn from classes and different experiences. And for me, I had like a lot of different work experiences as well during college. So it's just like with that, I feel like a big thing that's common like amongst any professional, any like career path you go down is soft skills as well. Like soft skills, learning those soft skills, it's just like that'll make you like, even if you have the criteria for everything else, if so you having those soft skills could I'll be like, you know, someone else that does not have those soft skills, because it's like something that's kind of like looked over. But I would definitely say like that with the business degree, it doesn't just like put you just what your degree is. Like with everything incorporated, I think it's transferable amongst like any type of field you actually want to go in with your degree.
Thank you. Alexis?
Yeah, so Sean's response was just perfect. The only thing I could really add to that is group projects. You know, the school management loves our group projects. You know, you're going to have dozens of them. So just really making sure that you understand that group dynamic. And it also gives you a chance, you know, to be a leader in that group, you know, develop that skill. So just getting, you're going to be working in groups wherever, if you're going to be on a board, committee, you know, with your coworkers. So just working with all different types of people, it really exposes you to different work styles and how everybody, you know, does their job.
And to kind of talk a little bit more about your industry and field, how, what are, oh my goodness, I'm sorry. What advice would you give to a student interested in your career? And I guess, Alexis.
So my career field is really interesting because marketing and communications overlap a lot. And at the university, you know, we have a comm major, we have a marketing major, but a lot of those skills are the same. I think what's different for the marketing major is that you get to learn a lot of those more like analytical consumer behavior skills. It's really much more in depth, while communication, you know, is very surface level. So make that distinction when you're looking for a job, if it says communications, if it says marketing, because they're very different roles. And a lot of people try to lump them together, or you do both. You know, just try to figure out what you want to do. And I think what I do, I have a good blend of both, where I get to develop marketing plans, budgets, but also do communication, you know, externally and internally with our students.
Thank you. Za'Taia?
So with me, my actual role, I'm a forensic accountant. And so like, that's not like a traditional accounting. So like when I was going to my field, I would tell people like at the career fairs and things like, oh, I want to be a forensic accountant, and like ask them about their forensics and stuff. A lot of like smaller firms don't have forensics, or if they do, it's like they'll be like, oh, it's harder to get into, and or like the number one thing they're gonna ask you is like tax or audit, and every time I'd be like forensics, like, and so I would definitely say just like don't shelter yourself in, because like a lot of like firms or smaller firms, like with smaller forensics departments, like, oh, it's going to be super hard to get into and this and that. But like at bigger firms, like the firm I'm at now, I got in entry level. I didn't have any prior experience in forensics or anything like that. So I would definitely say just don't close the door or limit yourself. And then like I would say with anything in accounting, it's so many different fields in accounting that is like oftentimes like really overlooked, like because it's only like tax and audit are the big ones. So I would definitely say just like literally just like glance around, like YouTube different things, like different accounting, because it's like production accounting, like you can work on sets and like you handle the things for that. So it's just like it's so many different things in accounting. So I would definitely say just don't limit yourself to tax or audit, but actually explore. And then like if it is forensics or whatever you're interested in, my number one thing, I will watch YouTube videos like forensic accounting skills to learn and the key things to know and things like that, because that way like the more you learn about a career, the more you know like, okay, this is for me, or it's like more you're able to like clear that out, like this is for me or this is not for me. So I would definitely say just don't be afraid to do research on whatever you're thinking about going into, and then like take the time to research and make sure that's really what you want to do.
Thank you. Sean?
Yeah, so I'll provide a little more context about what it is I actually do. So I'm at Ford and I help them stand up new businesses. So this is everything from assessing an opportunity to actually building the operation that will deliver that business and then launching it and then running it. So it's kind of like this corporate entrepreneurship or entrepreneurship type of discipline, right? And there isn't one, maybe core skill that I bring. I think actually what I bring is in lines with my career aspiration, which is to fall into that general manager position. And that requires, kind of being a jack of all trades and being able to manage work streams that I don't even necessarily have the expertise or the experience in directly, but I know how to manage those work streams. So what does it take to be able to do that? The first thing is a willingness to dive in and just know that you're not, or, for me, I know I'm not the expert in the room, right? On certain things. I lean on the people that are the experts in the room and do what I can to make sure that they are in a position to succeed and they have whatever type of experience or materials that allow them to do their best work, right? So I'm like trying to give people an opportunity to do their best work. And so that takes, that requires some flexibility and some resilience, right? Because priorities change, work streams change. And so being fixated on a single goal or a single skill isn't going to serve you well in an organization that moves really fast and is trying to figure out solutions to new or unique problems, right? So just that willingness to dive in, stay humble about, what you bring to the table and be transparent about what you don't bring, but be willing to be that team player along the way goes pretty far.
Thank you. Cheyenne?
So I work as a leasing consultant from apartments. With that, I do everything from working with the residents that currently live here, any questions, concerns that they have, as well as dealing with the visitors of the community, taking them on tours and also any questions, answering questions they have. If someone was interested in being a leasing consultant or working for apartments in, let's say, property management, I would say it's important to do research on the community you are thinking about working for, as well as their management company who operates that apartment. Are they somebody that you would be proud to work for? The biggest part of my job is what I'd say is customer service. Customer service is a skill that you're pretty much going to need no matter what job you do, but it definitely, I'd say, can be very tested in the role that I'm in. I'd say more of the conversations that I have are negative versus positive. So you really have to be prepared to work with a very wide variety of people. And that can look like a lot of different things, but always being friendly, always knowing that you are there to help them. That is your role. And then another big thing is overcoming objections. A big part of this role is kind of sales in a way, and you have to be prepared to overcome any objections that might come your way, trying to take a glass half empty to a glass half full.
We have a question from a student, and I'll start with Za'Taia. Looking back at your time at UM-Flint, is there anything you would do differently or take advantage of more while you were in college to help you with your career path?
Yes, so the number one thing that came to my mind was the way I took my classes. So it's a lot of prereqs to get into the business school, and one of those requires it's a class it's super heavy on Excel, PowerPoint, things like that. Taking that closer to the end, I feel like it would have been so much more helpful because it's stuff I remembered in Excel before I was really gotten to using in my career. It was I think I learned this my freshman year of college. So I would definitely say a lot of those computer courses that I took, taking those somewhere towards the end, or not even just that, keep brushing up on it, because I still have the assignments saved and things like that. So I would say definitely just going over it, again and think and like going over it again. And then the other thing I can think of, I would definitely say take advantage of like all the events. Like I was at a lot of like school of management events, but I feel like I could have been at more. But like it was like this super cool like internship like that this company that I worked for offered, and I didn't have any clue about it. And it's like if I would have went to more events, maybe then it's like I would have like heard about it. So I would just say go to more events and definitely like always keep in touch and base with the different technology I had learned.
Thank you. Alexis?
Okay, I don't have career advice, but I do want to say something that I wish I should have done more as an undergraduate student, which was using more like student services. So like using the rec center, going to CAPS, improving your mental health as a student, because it gets to be stressful, during midterms, exams, group projects, it's a lot. And just making sure that you have a solid foundation as you, get your degree and, become an adult. You want to make sure that, you feel well prepared for that, that you took care of yourself during college. So, to make sure that you have a successful career, it's also, taking care of yourself, such as, taking vacations or making time, to do things that make you happy. And it's not always just, I got to do this for my career, I'm going to fail. So, also be kind to yourself.
Sean?
Something that I did in the later stages of my time at UM-Flint that I wish I would have done earlier is engage more with the staff and professors of the School of Management, and even more broadly around campus. I got a lot out of the interactions that I shared in those final semesters, and it helped me, prepare for my next step. And I got a pretty good, a very good letter of recommendation out of one of those interactions, and developed some great relationships with staff and professors that, would have been awesome to have even earlier, and just absorb what I could from their experience. And they're a resource outside of the classroom too, right? So I think that the value that can be captured from being a student goes far beyond the coursework contained in the curriculum. And so yes to everything that was said before my response, and lean on the experience that you're surrounded by every single day and time you walk into the building or log on. I never had anybody say, no, I'm not willing to talk to you, or I'm not willing to help you. And I think people feel some degree of maybe they feel rewarded for helping a student in that way too. So these people elected to go into their field for a reason, and I think helping students learn is maybe more of a pursuit than just putting together those lesson plans. I was in a very different stage than many students when I was at UM-Flint too. I was a commuter. I had obligations outside of school with family and work and all that. So all the campus events that took place, I didn't get to participate in as much, but I'd imagine those are pretty fun and worth going to as well.
Thank you. Cheyenne?
I would say getting involved sooner. I definitely would say I tried hard getting involved with different things, but I think that was a bit delayed. And if I got involved sooner, I would have received more of an impact. It was within my last about year and a half of school that I found a like-minded support system in the School of Business. And I think being involved sooner could have led me to those people a bit faster. And I agree with Alexis, using more of the student services. Those are things that are included in your tuition anyways. You might as well take advantage of them, especially if they're things that will help you succeed. And then I wish I would have asked for help a bit more from my professors. Sometimes if I wouldn't understand something, I would be the type to just try to figure it out on my own, or maybe get a peer to try to help me. But your professors, that is literally their job, to help you learn the topic. And I think that also would have helped me build some stronger relationships with my professors as well.
I have one more thing that I just wanted to add as well. it's kind of like related to what Alexis said with student services. I would definitely say get involved in like different student events as well. Like one of the things that stood out to me in college, I did a pageant. I've never done a pageant before ever. And I was so close to winning. I think I was like with the first runner up. So I was like came in technically like second place. But like I learned like confidence, like I like gained a certain confidence for myself. And I'm like, it was just like, it was such a great experience. I would definitely say like do different things, because it's like when you get comfortable then, like while you're in college, getting outside of your comfort zone, it makes it so much easier like once you're out in the real world. And I would say too, like, you know, everybody think about like, I can't wait till I graduate and stuff like that. I would definitely say start planning how you want your like grown-up life to actually look. Because it's like when you're done, it's like it hits you so fast, and like sometimes you would just sit there stuck like, I am out, like what am I supposed to do? So I would definitely say whatever like you want to do, or like, oh, I want to do this, I want to go on morning runs. It's like write that down, so when you actually graduate, you have like your plan of what your life to actually look like post-graduation.
Thank you very much. My next question is, what are you most proud of from your U of M-Flint experience, or what is an experience that you thought really benefited you at your time at U of M-Flint? And I'll just, Za'Taia, I'll start with Za'Taia.
Okay. One thing I could definitely say that stood out, and I feel like, oh, it was definitely being a part of NABA, which is the National Association of Black Accountants. We went to like a career fair down in Vegas, and like that changed like my whole life. Like I was applying to companies that I never would even apply for. Like I had interviews with like Google, Microsoft, things like that, and it was just like going there, it like showed me like I could really do this. Like, and it was just like I feel like after that, after interviewing with different companies and like actually getting offers back, like, hey, can you do this internship? It was just like that really like got me just like, okay, I'm so happy I did this. And at first I was like, oh no, but like pushing myself to actually join NABA, like go out to those career events, I feel like that changed the whole like path of what everything I was doing. I feel like it just helped it more. And that's when I also met like the recruiter that ended up recruiting me for the career I'm in now. So I would definitely say those networking events, even though you might be shy, scared, nervous, just do it, because when you do it, you never know who you're going to meet. And then like keeping that connection and growing that connection, it could like literally shape your whole future.
Thank you. Alexis?
So I went to a local community high school. I graduated from Carmen in 2016, which was during the Flint water crisis. So I went to U of M-Flint, not really sure of like what my path was going to be for me. But I fell in love with Flint. And I think that is, you know, the biggest thing, you know, is being a part of the culture. And I was very fortunate to be able to impact my students and my peers in a way that, you know, helped move Flint forward in a way. So if you can, you know, try to be a part of the Flint culture, you know, help rebuild Flint, because we're really on the verge of, you know, Flint coming back and being, you know, a really great city again. And I think the more students, alumni, faculty, staff, you know, the community that comes back to Flint and support it, that's, you know, the best thing, you know, for Flint right now. And I'm really proud of myself, you know, to have a small impact in that part.
Thank you. Sean?
One of the things I'm most proud of is the speed with which I was able to complete my coursework. So I started with a plan, and sometimes sticking to that plan wasn't easy. I recall, I think one or maybe a couple semesters where I had, you know, like 20 plus credit hours. I'm commuting 45 minutes each way, sometimes twice a day. It was crazy. And like I had a newborn at home. It was pretty wild. But Flint, you know, U of M-Flint was supportive and flexible and helped me get there just as much as I wanted that help. And so that was a pretty cool experience to know that I wasn't sort of alone in that pursuit. And it actually worked out. I finished, you know, pretty quick. Beyond graduating, I've been really lucky to be able to talk up U of M-Flint and represent it in a way that I think, you know, I try to reflect well on the school and brand, obviously. And people love that. I don't know why, but they do. They just like, I think it probably has something to do with the Flint water crisis too, but it's just something that like people get behind. They're like, oh yeah, that's cool, man. Like good for you. And good for like getting out there and trying to do things afterwards, and not just like sort of resting on the laurels of having that degree and not doing much with it. So I think that you know, the drive that people walk into as new students, being able to carry that forward is feels pretty cool sometimes when people see that.
Thank you. Cheyenne?
I am probably most proud of how much my comfort zone has expanded in college. I went to high school and graduated with a class of about 80 other individuals, so a small school. So going to any university was a big change for me, and it definitely was very nerve-wracking. But throughout college, I don't know, each year my comfort zone expanded more and more, and it's kind of made me present time not want to stop. I want to keep expanding that comfort zone, keep growing. It's also brought out, I think, some of my leadership qualities. I had already mentioned my communication has improved night and day. And then just overall confidence as a human being. I feel like I am a lot more confident managing situations, handling situations that I may have doubted myself in before. And I'd say I gained these qualities through the different clubs that I got involved in, as well as Greek life, and also just the business classes in general. A lot of times they would force me to expand my comfort zone if I wanted to do what was expected.
Thank you. Okay, for those who have been in the hiring position, or if you learned things along the way when applying, what are some do's and don'ts of resumes and interviewing? I'll start with you, Sean.
Okay, it's been a little while since I was the interviewee, but I have been hiring a lot lately for my own teams and sitting in on interview panels for other teams. What you hear is what I still look for as an interviewer, and it might sound a little old school, but I will judge you on your resume. And I still believe that having an airtight resume free of any mistakes is the single easiest way to avoid getting bounced early in the interview process or in the candidacy evaluation process. So it's, you know, I'm sure a broken record sort of sentiment that people hear over and over, but it's true. You know, other than that, I just, as an interviewee, didn't limit myself. So we've sort of touched on this theme a couple times throughout the talk already, but don't limit yourself to applying for only certain types of jobs or, you know, what you think your experience lends itself to. Job descriptions are written for the ideal candidate that probably doesn't even exist. Right. And so if you're deficient in a couple of areas or job requirements, apply anyway, if you're interested. And sometimes that interest or that, you know, outgoing sort of spirit will go further than a bullet on a resume and in being able to talk to why that interest is there. As an interviewer, you know, things that I'm looking for are people being able to dive deeper than just surface level responses to my questions. So I'll ask a lot of follow-up questions and maybe take some turns throughout the interview just to see how people react. And if they can sort of roll with the flow, even if, you know, they're not expecting it, but they can hang with the conversation and still provide, you know, sensible input and something that could be, you know, a good display of sound logic, then I think that goes a long way too, right? Even if the content itself is kind of a miss or indicative of like a lack of experience, the willingness to hang with the conversation and the ability to apply logic is, you know, that's what I'm really looking for. Critical thinker and somebody that can chase down an open question, even if they don't know the answer.
Great. Cheyenne?
I do not work much with hiring with my current position, but I did do some work with hiring committees while I was in college. And I will say that the resume is important. It's often one of the first things that employers look at. So if they do not like your resume, you likely will not even have the opportunity to interview. If you've had it edited, have it edited again, keep sharpening it, use statistics. And then with the interview process, it's important to be prepared. I know that seems obvious, but do your research on the company. Make sure you show up to the interview knowing what you want and what you're expecting, and then be prepared to ask them questions as well.
I'm going to follow up on that real quick, Cheyenne. What kind of questions should the interviewees ask the employers? That would be good.
One of my favorites is asking the people interviewing you, if they work for the company, why do they like working there? What are they proud of? Why are they proud to work for that company? And are they proud? And then one question that I ask sometimes if I'm feeling confident about my interview is based on the interview, if they have any hesitations in hiring me.
Nice.
Can I add a couple more thoughts to the first and the second part of this question?
Yeah.
Okay, so first part about how to prepare for an interview. Have stories, right? And this goes for interviewing for a job or interviewing for, you know, any sort of follow-on graduate program, whatever the case may be. Have stories, right? And create a grid. Like, this sounds like kind of a little overboard, but it's not. If you can have a grid that has, you know, on one axis, like personal, professional, group setting, individual setting, right? And on the other axis, have something about like school or past job experience or future sort of what you're looking for in a job, right? You can have reference points for stories that you've rehearsed, right? And so if you could ask a particular question, you can jump to that story and know that you've got a good narrative to tell, right? So this is just prep work. In the interview, read the room. If somebody's asking you questions and they're really short or, you know, concise statements, respond in kind. Try to mirror their activity, right? Or, you know, I'm not saying like detach yourself from your own identity, but be the conversationalist that you feel like the other person is looking to talk to, and that can go a long way too. So read the room. The sorry, what the point that Cheyenne made was about, or the question that you asked, Cheyenne?
What are some good questions to ask the employers when you're being interviewed?
Yeah, ask about goals. What are the 30, 60, 90-day goals of this role? What is it going to take for the hiring manager to feel like this is a successful new hire, right? So it can, you know, get down to the details, like what are you looking for out of this role? And if they don't have that ready, it probably means they haven't thought about it, which is an opportunity for you to say, well, this could be something that I can bring in my experience and expertise to help you understand what the right and realistic goals are. If they do have goals already, you could say, I've done this in the past, or this is something that I've been looking forward to trying out. I feel comfortable with this, like, sounds good, you know, agreeable either way.
Great, thank you. Za'Taia?
So like I mentioned earlier about YouTube, I would definitely say any position that you are applying for, one big thing I would do was look up like the key skills for a forensic accountant to have. So like with any work experience or current work experience or any experience I had, once I got to the interview, I would be able to tie my experience that I currently have to the skills that are needed for that role or that are sought for that role. And I feel like that helps a lot, because it's just like, it's one thing for somebody to read your resume, but like I feel like when I go into an interview, I think of it as like I'm going to, like, of course, like be my professional self, and then also it's like give a presentation of your resume, you know. And so I would definitely say like how Sean said, to like have stories, have like random stories that ties back to, like, you know, it's like just like leadership stories, like have like key things in your head, because it's like a typical questions, like the questions will probably be different, but like it's typical things that they're looking to hear from it, like leadership, taking initiative, like things like that. So have those stories already ready. Those are like the key things that I will do before like going into the interview or getting prepared for one.
Thank you. Alexis?
So I've helped with hiring SOMs interns or just student workers. And, for these positions, we don't really require, too many skills. An internship is where we're going to help, develop, these skills. So, it's something you can add to your experience, hopefully get a full-time career job. So a lot of those, skills aren't really that important on your resume as much. The biggest thing that I looked for when hiring a student worker was, did they make a connection? How were they like? How personable were they? Because that goes a lot when you don't really have a lot of experience. Like, how are you going to stick out, to the hiring panel, like why we should hire you? Something else with that, if the job doesn't require a cover letter, do it anyways. Because if I'm looking at, 2 candidates, one submitted a cover letter and one didn't, who put in more effort, dedication, to applying for this. So I'm going to value the person that, took the extra time to write that cover letter and explain their projects or what they're doing, more than the other person that, just set up the resume. Also look up the company. People will typically ask you, like, what have you researched about us? I know when we hired our graphic design intern, I asked her, I'm like, have you seen any of our graphics out there? And all of them answered no. So, look at what the company's doing, maybe see what new initiatives, they're working on. Ask them that too. I'm like, how is this going? How are you implementing that? That just shows that you're really dedicated to the position and looking at, future growth for the company. And then lastly, send a follow-up email. I can't remember the statistic, but I know LinkedIn says, I think if you were to send like a follow-up email thanking, the interviewers for their time, you're like more likely to get that position. So there's just, again, it's really good. I think it's probably out there if you Google it, but always send a follow-up email to the people that you interviewed with.
I have just like 2 points to add on to what Alexis said. So with interviewing a company, and like how she said, how she said, like researching, like knowing what they do. That's another like key question that I always do. Any company I go for, I will look up like interesting facts or like something like that about the company and ask that to the interviewers in the interview. Because like now it just looks like, oh, she really did her digging. Like, I don't know why Microsoft did this back in 1999, but now it's a thought. So I would definitely say those type of questions help you stand out a lot. And then with the follow-up emails, with me, like Antonio, he helped me a lot with those. So like I would say keep templates. Like I am a template queen. So it's like when it comes to like templates for follow-up emails, templates for like my resume and my cover letter, like certain spots, it's like I would like pretty much like keep the same and just change the name. I will highlight that and like just so anytime I know when I'm going back to this template to just change it, it makes it so much easier. So you don't have to like start from scratch with a follow-up email or start from scratch with a cover letter. That makes it so much easier. So I would say definitely keep your templates, and like it makes your life so much easier.
Thank you so much. And the last question, I think this probably might be the last question. Do you have any professional failures you would like to share, and how did you overcome the issues at hand? If so, did the employer offer any support resources? And I'll just start with Za'Taia.
Okay, so yeah, a company failure. One thing I can think of, like with this new role, I'm like on a newsletter, like a weekly newsletter that goes out. And so me personally, like I went to accounting, of course, I care about the numbers, like all the writing is just like extra, but it's in my job description as well. So with that, it's just like certain things that'd be like, I think it's interesting, so it should be added. But then it's like the person that's editing is just like, okay, well, I think this should be added or this should be added. So like with that, it was just like starting to become like a lot of like, I think this, and then like when I send it over for review, then it's like comments coming back with this. So with that, I just took the initiative and just like asking like, hey, can we set up a meeting? I want to know your thought process when you're going through this. So like my thought process can more resemble that to become like, so I can actually accomplish what you want me to do. Because right now we're clearly like not seeing this task the same way. And that helped out a lot. And then like now, like, we just set up like, oh, okay, if you have this article and you're not sure if to include it, like just ping me or just send me a message and stuff like that. So it's like me taking that initiative just to set up that meeting, it just like helped a lot with getting past that obstacle.
Absolutely. Thank you. Alexis?
Can you repeat the question again?
Yes, I'm sorry. Do you have any professional failures that you would like to share, and how you overcame the issues at hand? And if so, did your employer offer any support resources?
Okay, so I am still new to my job. I've been full-time at the school management for 6 months. So a professional failure, I would want to say being that person that always says yes. That's really bad. Don't say that, sure, I'll do this project or I'll help you with that, because then you have so much on your plate that you can't give enough time to to the different job responsibilities that you actually have if you're, being a team player and helping everyone. I love that. I love, helping Anna with her stuff and Tony with that stuff and planning my own events. But you got to make sure that you're still covering what your job description says. Because right now, you don't want to, burn yourself out or have any issues with that arise. So, having that conversation with your supervisor and be like, this is what I have going on right now. How do you feel? If you're comfortable with the amount of work that you have, keep that communication line open. So if you're, able to take on some extra projects, that your supervisor knows that, or, when to tune it back. So that's a big piece, don't overwork yourself, and just make sure that, you're still being a team player, but not doing so much where you can't, get anything done.
Thank you. Sean?
I've been lucky enough to not have like a Titanic crashing into the iceberg moment yet in my career. Hopefully I don't have one. So I don't have like a massive crash and burn failure experience, but yeah, I mean, I fail at stuff all the time, right? I'm not perfect. Nobody I work with is perfect, and that's okay. And we all know that about each other. And if you can get comfortable with the fact that, you're not going to do perfect in every task, and just have that sort of relationship of an environment of psychological safety with your company and your workplace and your team, that goes a long way, right? Because now it's like, sometimes I feel like I could do things better, and I try to do the best I can do to be a lifelong learner and improve based on feedback and observations and just pure iteration, right? So I would say failure is a regular part and a necessary part of professional growth and being better. Anybody that says they haven't failed or failure is bad is probably being untruthful and not interested in being a better version of themselves.
Thank you, Sean. Cheyenne?
One of the hardships I've experienced in my role is inconsistencies with policies. Within the last year, we've received different management, and that's caused some confusion with which way of handling things is the right way. This wasn't just something I've noticed, my peers did as well. And we brought it to the attention of our assistant manager, who has remained the same throughout all this process. And she's an individual that I would say likes rules, likes consistencies, likes when things are right. So being able to have her there throughout the entire process has been very beneficial. And I would say I look up to her as a leader. And then lacking communication with policy changes, that can be frustrating for the entire group. For one, a policy change is something that I'd say the group should be prepared for. A lot of times with the policy change, your staff should know about it before it's put into effect. And that's something I'd say we're still presently struggling with a bit. The apartments I work for are part of a corporate business. So there's a lot of offices, and they're working right now to make a lot of these policies universal throughout all of the companies, but those changes are not always communicated correctly. So that's been a bit frustrating.
Did we want to ask another question, Anna? Or do you think we can
Za'Taia, did you
wrap up?
answer your
Oh,
question?
Yep, I answered.
Okay, yeah, I think we're almost done. I'm just gonna ask for final advice, but I wanted to ask Sean a question that just popped into my head. So we had a student call a couple weeks ago, and he felt like an interview went really well. He was really confident about it, and he had called us because he didn't get the job and was asking if it's appropriate to call the company and ask why he didn't and what he could do differently. Is that an appropriate action someone can take?
I think so. Yeah, I've done that. I've had people ask me that. I think that's a totally appropriate question. And if a candidate puts in the effort to join an interview and doesn't get the position, but are asking for feedback in, a good spirited manner, then the employer, can choose to provide or not provide feedback. But I think the question is fine. I've also heard a different spin on this recently. Instead of asking, what feedback do you have or why didn't I get the position, it could also be presented as, what hesitations did you have about advancing me? And would you be open to me, having an opportunity to address those, what you think are deficiencies straight on? So it's almost like kind of asking for a follow-up interview based on what went wrong in the first one. Two different approaches depending on how much that candidate wants to continue pursuing that position.
Thank you. Okay, Za'Taia, do you have any final advice?
Final advice I would give is just definitely learn as much as you can. Don't freak out. Any job you go into, any career you go into, they're still going to train you. So don't just think I got to cram all this college knowledge in, because a lot of stuff you probably won't even use. But I would definitely say, so just stay level-headed, make sure you're maintaining physical health, mental health, and things like that, and it's all going to work out for the greater good.
Thank you. Cheyenne?
I'll bring up a little bit about what Za'Taia said earlier about thinking about your life after college. Once you hit that graduation point, it can be a bit overwhelming. A lot of decisions, a lot of choices, a lot of directions are coming at you at one time. And having a sense of direction of where you want to be can really help make that less overwhelming. I would also add to stay flexible. I think within the last few years, flexibility has become a big asset. Be willing to adjust, be willing to change. And then lastly, lifelong learning. Don't lose interest in wanting to learn. Don't lose interest in wanting to be better at whatever you're doing. Even the best of the best can still be better.
Thank you. Sean?
What's been helpful for me is to set intermediate goals, right? And so the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan, all great. But think about your point in time now. If you make even a minor adjustment to your path direction, that 5-year plan is way off target now, right? And so have a strategy to either course correct back to that 5-year plan, or just make an immediate goal. And if you can achieve that, that you're on the right path toward your 5-year plan, and it gives you a way to work towards something manageable in the meantime. So as cliche as that is, I think goal setting does actually work for some people in some situations. I don't want to generalize, but yeah.
Great. Alexis?
So since I'm last, I'm gonna do a shameless plug for the school of management. Read the emails that, Antonio sends out, follow the school management on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, follow us on there so you always know what's going on. We share more than, what's just happening to school management, other things that are happening around campus that are cool, like free things. I think right now SIL is doing goodie bags for midterms. And I'm like, that's awesome. So, just connect more with your school, be, UM-Flint proud, proud of your degree, stay connected even after you graduate, because, you know, we do this all the time. Alumni are always invited to our events. I know Anna next month, she's hosting a social at Redwood. Like, come on, it's Redwood, free food. So, you know, try to do more of that, you know, even when you're, you know, move on and you get your degree from UM-Flint, because we'll still be here rooting for you, being your cheerleader. So stay connected.